Hi, girls. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. I was still driving home, so I was busy working.
Oh my, drive safe.
Yes. Hi, Gus. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. How is everyone?
I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, we have a new joiner.
Look at her doggy. She's got a poodle. Big old.
All right, let's just wait, Patricia,
I see it.
to be back.
It's
Kylie, I have to show you my parents' dogs. They have four.
I want to see both of all of them.
You will see all of them. I will show you later. So, welcome everybody. Please make sure that you have your bottle of water with you. And welcome to this another beautiful evening. I hope all is good wherever you are. And for those who are not driving, I invite you to close your eyes and let us all take a deep breath and exhale. And as we keep breathing consciently, let us visualize this divine light coming into our lungs, cleaning our brain and our thoughts, cleaning everything that we saw that might have been unpleasant, everything that we heard, anything that we might have said or felt or done. But let us release anything that is not necessary for this moment. This moment that so respectfully we raise our thoughts to our divine creator, to our big brother Jesus Christ, that is here with us, supporting us in this journey of learning, of growing, of transforming, so we can all find our inner peace, that we can all find happiness and make this a journey full of progress through beautiful experiences. We ask that our mentors join us as the teaching mentors, so then we can absorb the lessons according to what we need, so we can all keep growing and be better servants of God to all of our brothers and sisters who are in need. We ask for guidance, for protection, and we ask for permission to start tonight's class. And so be it. And so it is. All right, friends. So, tonight we are exactly, I think, in the middle of our journey. It's been interesting so far. I hope you are all enjoying it. If you need anything in addition or anything differently, please feel free to reach out. You will help me to make this a better class for all of us. The most important thing is that you are absorbing and understanding, and if you're not, please let me know, so then we can make adjustments. So as I mentioned, today we are in the middle of our journey, and we will talk about prayers and what is the gospel at home, which is something that we speak so much and so often. So let us understand why this is so important. So as usual, let us go through our quick recap, so we make sure that we are all on the same page. And then again, as usual, if you have any questions, even with regards to something that had already passed, please let me know. I'll be happy to talk to you about this. So let us always remember that the Spiritism has three pillars: the philosophy, the science, and the religion. So we should not just look into just one or just the other. It's a combination of the three of them. And the philosophy aspect encourages us to make questions. And that's why we should think about Spiritism with reason more than only religion or only with science. So please make sure that as you expand your understanding of spirituality, you also bring your questions if you have them. But the beliefs that we have in Spiritism are five, and as I go through each one of them, I will explain a little bit, which is already a recap of what we saw. So the first one is the existence of God. So we saw that God is the supreme intelligence, the first cause of all things. And we know that as one single God, there is a simple rule for us to please God, if I can say. But God, as our loving Father, asks us for us to do unto others what we wish them to do unto us. So it's nothing with regards to give payments, or it's nothing with regards to suffer. It's really about being good to ourselves and to others. This is the golden rule that Jesus taught us. The second belief is the existence of the spirits and their survival after death. So we learned on the spirits classes is that we have at least three layers. We have our physical body, which is this material vessel that we have. We have the perispirit, which is the in-between matter and spirit, which is where we carry our emotions and all of our memories from one lifetime to other lifetime. And we have the spirit, which is our soul that is not incarnated anymore. And all the spirits, we have three main orders: the impure spirits that are also divided by many classes according to level of evolution. And when I say evolution, remember that those are evolutions into two fronts. One is the knowledge, and the other one is the moral evolution, the loving effect. The second order are the good spirits, and then the first order are the perfect spirits, which are the Christ's ones. We also learned about reincarnation. So reincarnate with means of purification and progress. So it is through reincarnation that we go back to the consequences of our past decisions, and then we understand by experience. That's why reincarnation just opens our mind to a longer timeline than what we just see into this lifetime. We also learned about the multitude of inhabited worlds. We learned that all the worlds in the universe, they are inhabited, and all of them differ with exactly what the people who live in there, or the inhabitants that live in there, need for their own progress. So there are many, many different worlds, and their different orders are the primitive worlds, where we have the most primitive senses with regards to earthly matters, the passions, the vicissitudes, and all that bad instincts, I would say. The words of trials and expiations, which are the words that are a little bit more advanced, but the evil still overcomes the good, and this is where this is when the worlds are learning with their own decisions. We have the Regeneration World, which are worlds that are a little bit more spiritualized, not completely, but they are a little bit more. But there is still good and evil. It doesn't mean that we do not have expiations anymore, but it means that its inhabitants are having a little bit more understanding of their pain. So there is less suffering. This is where planet Earth is moving towards. And we have the happy worlds, which are the ones that good overcomes the evil, and the divine worlds where there is only good, there is no evil at all, and those are the places where the perfect spirits live. The fifth belief is the ability that we have to communicate with the spirits. And we also learned that this ability to communicate with the spirits, it's a faculty that is inherent of humankind. So all of us can do that. And there are two different ways. One is the subliminal, which is more subtle, and then there is the ostensive mediumship, which are the ones that are or stronger, I would say, in the perception. But the most important thing is that we understand how we will develop our mediumship and why we would do that. So we should always be aware that this is a very serious matter, and we should aim to open up our mediumship to receive advice from enlightened spirits, to enlighten with moral thoughts, for us to elevate our morals and understand about valuable lessons from spirits on high, to develop and increase our knowledge and get better sense of why we are here, where we are going, to keep the friendly and the loving relationship with those who departed already. So as we learned, whenever we reincarnate, we do not stop loving people, neither in this world or the other world. So of course that one of the reasons why we would want to communicate with a loving person is because life goes on, and this is a source. This is a means of communication as well. And last class, we had a very technical conversation about universal fluid. And the universal fluid, you will remember that this is part of God's creation. So the universal fluid, also known as primitive cosmic matter, it has many different states depending on the elements that it interacts with. So when the universal fluid interacts with some types of elements, there is an effect, always intelligent effect, and these can be etherical or material. And then depending on how spirits manipulate those fluids, they can absorb more or less matter. One very important thing that we learned is that it is the vehicle for thought. So the universal fluid is the vehicle for thought, like the air is the vehicle for sound. So we should be very, very careful with our thoughts, because due to the universal fluid, everything that we think, we emit, and once we emit, it just goes to the universe. So very, very careful with our thinking. We also learned that thought and will are for spirits what hands are for humans, meaning that's the reason why it is easier for spirits, especially for those who are more purified, for them to manipulate thoughts and feelings and emotions and even the material perceptions that we have, because these are the means for them to work just as we can do and touch things with our hands. And then the last piece of the universal fluid that I wanted to recap is that the fluids are combined due to the similarity of their nature. These similar fluids repel one another, and that's another reason why we should always be careful with our thoughts, because when we are emanating something positive, it will repel what is negative, because those two fluids, they do not combine. Are we all right? Are we all on the same page? Yeah, so if I would
Yes.
believe. Thank you. All right, so today we talk about prayers and the gospel at home. So let's talk a little bit about prayers, the types of prayers, effectiveness of prayers, which are the resources that we can find, and finally the gospel at home. And this is a really interesting topic, because very often people come to us and say, either I don't know how to pray, or why do I have to pray out loud, or what is the difference between a prayer and a meditation, and all that kind of stuff. And when we think about prayer is simply the intentional connection that we create with something or someone. In our case, we use prayer for us to connect with God, to connect with spirits on high. And this is intentional. We are creating this connection. In the Spirits Review, Allan Kardec said that if we understand the loss of fluids, which is exactly what we studied last week, we do understand the power of thoughts and prayer, since the prayer is a thought directed to a given objective. So every time that we want to create that connection, it is as simple as we think. We do not have necessarily to do anything in specific. Of course, that there are some guidelines, I would say, but anything that comes from our heart. This is the recommendation. Prayers should be an intimate overflow, an overflow from our soul to God. And if you look at this, let me see here. If you look at this drawing here, this is how we create this invisible bond. We create something that goes to God, and then God creates something that comes to us. So we create this connection, this strong energy, and this is how we start getting more and more the sense of our intuition. So the more we pray, the easier it's going to be the connection that we create with our mentors, with God. Therefore, it's going to be easier for us to understand our intuition. It's going to be easier for us to perceive what is our thought, what is a suggestion, what is intuition, what is our mentor, what is coming from our mentor. A meditation is a little bit different because you do not make a request or you do not speak. Essentially, you create that vibration. You allow the meditation to bring you this energy from the nature or from the sound that you are hearing or from the music, whatever it is. But there is no specific connection with God when you do the meditation. I'm not saying that it's bad, completely the opposite. It's an amazing source for us to find serenity. So every time that we feel like we are angry or nervous or tense, whatever, meditation is really good for us to serene our heart, for us to pay attention to our breathing, and then create the connection with God. So for me, those two things, they go hand to hand. And this is something that we heard the first statement. It is a supreme resource for the afflicted. This was said by Allan Kardec also in the Gospel. But this was another message that we also received from a mentor at BSH. The will is the strongest power, and the prayer is the strongest resource. And why is that? If we look at what we were just studying last week, we learned that if we desire to do something, our thought will be able to create the mental state that is necessary for us to start manifesting something. Not necessarily means that we will be able to create whatever we want, but understanding our role as co-creators with God, this is how we will create the right environment for us to receive the messages from God. And why is that, friends? It's because a lot of times we just pray and we do nothing. We pray and ask for God to solve our problems for us. This is not going to happen. What happens is that God will give us the means for us to be able to solve our issues. So when we think about what types of prayers should we have, what we learned from Allan Kardec is that by means of prayer, we communicate through thought with the being to whom the prayer is addressed. So this means that we can pray to God, we can pray to Jesus, we can pray to any specific saint that we recognize. We pray for Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, for instance, when we need any healing. But essentially, there are three big types of prayer. One is when you ask for something. There is the prayer that we give thanks for something that happened to us. And then there is the prayer for praise, when we just acknowledge God and bring this humbleness to our heart, understanding again that we co-create with God. And of course, that regardless of the prayer, we can always pray for someone else. We can always pray for someone else that is either living or that is in the discarnate realm. So those are the different types of prayer. But then again, whatever prayer we are doing, the most important thing is to do with our heart. There is no right or wrong. There is no way that you can say, I didn't pray correctly and that's why God's not going to attend my request. That doesn't happen, friends. There is this passage from Matthew that I would like us to read very quickly. That is in the Gospel that says, when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by men. I tell you the truth, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask Him. And this we heard from Jesus through Matthew in the Gospel. So what does it mean? It means that the prayer is this intimate moment with God. And even if we are in doubt with something, this is the moment that we just free ourselves. Because what we are learning is that the most important piece of the prayer is the intention that we put on it. When Jesus say, go into your room and close the door, it means to pray in secret. And why is that? It is for us to avoid try to call attention. Oh, that person prays really well. You know, that person, he says, he speaks beautiful words. That's not necessary. The most important prayer is the one that we do with our heart that doesn't even need to be seen by anyone else. But that, again, comes from our heart. And that means, God, I don't know what I'm doing. God, please help me with intention. And again, that doesn't have to be in front of anyone. The second big piece from this lesson is do not prolong your prayers. You know, sometimes it is hard because sometimes someone is praying and get just caught up in that environment that goes forever. And then everybody that is praying with that person is gone. It is, of course, we have to be very disciplined with our thoughts, but at the same time, we have to be respectful because sometimes not everybody is in the same vibration that we are. So we have to be very careful for us not to prolong our prayers. It doesn't have to be very long. It has to have a good intention. That's the most important part. The third big important piece for the prayer to be very effective is for us to forgive always before praying. Imagine yourself, and this was interesting. I got an Uber last week, and then he was mentioning to me that he was invited to become a pastor in his church or a minister in his church. And he was very, oh yeah, I think it was a minister because he was a Catholic minister. And he would give the, I don't know how to say that in English, hostia. That's how we say in Portuguese. You know the little thing that they eat. Does anyone know?
Like a little wafer.
Yeah,
A
it's
little wafer
the
they put on the tongue.
wafer. Yeah, yeah. It's what you get in the Catholic Church that
Yes.
represents
Like
Jesus
a
Christ.
Eucharist? Is it the Eucharist?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So he was saying that he was very afraid that he would have to give the Eucharist to someone while he had just swear that person in the traffic. he was so afraid of doing that. And this is exactly the reason why we should always forgive someone before we pray. Jesus said already to us, reconcile with your brothers and sisters even before you come to me. Imagine if we are asking for Jesus to help us to do something if we are fighting with our brothers and our sisters. How can we do that? What is the intention? What is the true intention that we are putting on our prayers? That's when we are praying the Lord's Prayer. We do ask for us to forgive and to be forgiven. So always release your heart. Also, because imagine if we have a vase that is completely dirty, how are we going to put a clean water in that vase? The vase is going to be contaminated. So clean the vase. Make sure that it's crystal and prepared for us to receive the guidance from Lord. Otherwise, whatever we receive, it's not going to be clear for us because we are carrying that dirty in our heart, in the vase of our heart. And then the fourth piece is for us to pray with humility. And that's another reason why doing in secret is so good. Because when we just release ourselves, sometimes when we are speaking to someone and we start to stumble, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. God's not going to be mad at us if we do not find the right words. What is important is that we do understand that we are co-creators with God. So it's not for us to go and say, hey God, you still didn't give to me what I asked for you 5 months ago. How long will I have to wait? This is not humble. We are not understanding that, again, we are co-creators. So when thinking about either make a request or giving it's a thanksgiving, or if we are praising to either ourselves or someone, always be humble and make sure that our words are representing what our heart is. And then Gandhi said something that is so beautiful that I just wanted to share with you. In prayer, it is better to have a heart without words than words without a heart. So it's really important that we understand that. Let us all feel comfortable to pray with God, because this is the way that we create that connection with God. And it is already proven how effective the prayers are. We know that sometimes we do not understand them, and we will talk about it on our next slide. But Allan Kardec says that its power is in the thoughts and love that we use to formulate the prayer, love to others and to ourselves. Again, imagine yourself if we put us in a position to pray when we are not forgiving ourselves for whatever mistake we've done in the past. What type of energy are we emitting in here? See, in this drawing here, we see that the person that is praying is emanating something, right? So it is emanating the vibration and is receiving the vibration. Again, if we are carrying so many dirt feelings, every time that this fluid tries to get into our heart or into our thoughts, it is as if we were creating a wall of mental fluids that do not allow us to receive that. And we are doing that with ourselves by not being able to just release what we have to release. When we truly release, friends, magical things happens. We could stay here just sharing thousands of examples. I'm pretty sure that each one of us has at least one example of when we were very angry or in a very difficult situation that we were really able to release and say, surrender. You know how when you surrender and say, God, it's on you. I can't do this anymore. Please help. And then something happens. If you didn't experience this yet, allow yourself. Allow yourself in whatever situation you find yourself whenever you need. Release truly. Try at least once. Friends, I am so sure that you will be able also to experience this because it is for all of us. In the Gospel according to Spiritism, we learn that prayers addressed to God are heard by spirits in charge of carrying out God's will. Those that are addressed to good spirits are taken to God. So it's just like all our benefactor friends that are working with us and for us. So let us always remember that each and every one of us have at least the mentor taking care of us. Plus all the friends and families that we've been carrying lifetime after lifetime. I don't know who my mom the previous life was, but I'm pretty sure she's around. I hope she is supporting me in this journey, just like my mom in this lifetime is doing. We are not alone. And every time that we trust, we believe that there is someone with us, alongside us, this is when we feel that we can breathe. We feel that we are not alone. While we might not understand clearly whatever God tells us, the guidance will come because there is no prayer without an answer. And that's not Chris saying, it's not Kiki saying that. That's coming from the spirits on high. There is not one single prayer that is not answered. Of course, that it needs to come from our heart. And then sometimes there are those contestation that says, if God already knows what I need even before I ask, then it's useless for me to enumerate what I need for God. Or if I can't change anything because God is ultimately deciding what's going to go on my life, then I do not have to pray. Friends, that's not true. You know why it's not true? Because this is the moment where we acknowledge our role in our life. Next week we will talk about action and reaction, our free will. God will never do something for us that is not necessary for us to progress. But if we decide that we want to go right instead of going left, we will go right instead of going left. And of course, we will find whatever we have to find by going left or right. So, once we resign to God, and for those who are hearing this for the very first time, there is a difference in the Spirit's book. We learn the difference between obedience and resignation. We obey when we do something just because we have to, but we resign when we trust. Resignation is an obedience from the heart. And when we are able to resign to God, this is when we are able to really change our posture. So then we start receiving the courage that we need. We start receiving the patience that is necessary. We start receiving guidance for what we are looking for. And that guidance, friends, not always will come in form of prayer, because remember, sometimes we do not have a clean vase for us to receive the fluids that will enable us to have our own intuition, because we are with our pride or our ego, or because we are fighting with everyone, or because we are angry, we are just closing our eyes and we are closing our ears and we cannot hear. But God is so merciful that sometimes God sent to us friends or books or someone that will tell us something, that will sparkle an idea, and you say, wow, this This is something in there. There is an idea. I will explore that idea. That is also part of something that's coming from God. Most likely because we are not being able to hear. God is there telling me, Chris, go right, go right, go right. And I can't hear. I keep asking, God, where should I go? But I'm like this. And then Gina comes and say, Chris, I think you should go right. See, friends. So this is also a way that we should understand that God is acting on our life, answering our requests whenever we are praying. And then there is this saying from Oscar Wilde. He's an Irish poet, and I found it so interesting. When the gods wish to punish us, they answer our prayers. Sometimes we don't know what we are praying for. Sometimes we do not know because our heart is still carrying so much things. Sometimes our sufferings makes us wish for things that we do not even imagine. Sometimes we break up with someone and we keep willing to go back to that person, and you know what? That person is not for you anymore. You shouldn't be wishing to go back to him or to her. There's something so much better in there. Go there. And what we do, we keep asking God, make that person to perceive that I want him or her back. No, wrong direction. Wrong direction, Chris. Go ahead. So sometimes our prayers, they are not answered, not because God wants us to be punished, but because God is inviting us to reinvent ourselves, to look to other perspectives. If this perspective is not being manifested as you are asking for, change the perspective. Try to find another different way. Oh, but there is no way. Friends, there is a way. There is always a way. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that it's not painful. But this is exactly what we need for us to be able to give one step further. Just like a child that is learning how to walk. Come on, son, you can do it. I'm afraid. Come on, you can do it. But you do not want your children to learn how to walk in the stairs. You want to teach your children to walk in a plain sidewalk, whatever. But you don't want to teach your children to walk in the hills, right? This is exactly the same thing. And then there is this quote in the book Here and Hereafter from Leon Denis that I think it's brilliant. How could God satisfy all the desires that the human beings pray for? Imagine. Most people are unaware to discern what would be suitable and most profitable to them. God alone knows what is the best for us, and failing to satisfy our demands, He will at least send us fluidic assistance and resignation. So again, this is the opportunity that we have if we are not being able to find the answer that we are looking for. Let us reassess. Let us reassess. And why the prayer is so important? When we think about, we know that we are emanating those thoughts, and then the spirits on high, the benefactors, are going to support us to find the answer or the solution for whatever we are looking for. Remember that when we were studying the universal fluid, remember that one of the things that we learned is that there is no boundaries. Just like when a stone strikes the water, in the water there is resistance. So when it starts vibrating, it will keep vibrating up to a size, depending on the the size of the stone, the how strong and how deep, and all the physics things. That doesn't happen with the fluids. It is infinite when we vibrate to something. And it's so powerful, friends. It is so powerful that Chico Xavier used to say something, that when a mother prays for her son or her daughter, she just breaks into the doors of heaven. And this is just one prayer. If you were able to read the book or to watch the movie No Solar that I mentioned to you by André Luiz, you remember that it was one single prayer that helped him to awake from his dark moments. It was one single prayer, friends. That was the prayer of one patient that he had, that if you remind, he was a doctor and he was receiving all these patients, and then his secretary would always encourage him to do charity, and once a week or once a month, I don't remember, she would just schedule for him someone that didn't have means to pay. And he was fine with that. He was like, all right, he didn't like, but he wouldn't deny. And then this patient was praying for him, and that was the moment that he was able to awake. That moment changed his life. So it is really powerful. And that's why the prayer is so important, because it creates this fluidic current that enables the advanced spirits to influence us and to answer our summons even from the far depth of space. So whenever we are praying, friends, what happens is that we are vibrating, we are emanating good and positive thoughts. When we do that, this softens our heart. Remember that we've been carrying lifetime after lifetime a bunch of things from other experiences. Most likely prideful experiences, things that really hurt us and are really hard for us to forgive. But when we pray, we enable our heart to be softened, so then we can receive and perceive the support from the spirits on high. Let me see, what time is it? Ooh. And that's why it is important for us to discuss about gospel at home. What is gospel at home? Is the practice when the whole family prays together. Why is it so important when we do that? First, it will inevitably improve the atmosphere. Remember that our house is our sacred temple. But if we do not clean our temple, and when I say clean, it's emotional cleaning and mental cleaning, what are we bringing from our work? Kids are bringing from school, that we are bringing from the news that we are watching all the time. It's really hard. But when we get together and then we are all praying together, we are elevating our vibration, and that vibration is impregnating in our house. It is definitely improving our atmosphere. Besides, it will help us with our inner illumination, because when we get together for us to read something that will help us to reflect upon important values, imagine if we are consistently doing that, if we are consistently thinking and reflecting about charity, about doing the goodness, about all the beatitudes that Jesus taught us. And this will definitely bring in synergy among the family. I still don't have kids, but I can imagine what it is to be in a house with teenagers where each and every one is growing at their own pace with their own beliefs that we all have to respect. But when we are all together, we have the opportunity to discuss different points of view. And this is what Gospel at Home is. For us to bring our perspective and all of us to get connected with the values of the house, because it is the parents' responsibility to build values on their children. So this is a great moment for us to discuss values. What other moment do we do that? Are we doing that in any dinner? Let's discuss about respect. We don't do that. Usually we talk about respect when there is lack of respect, and usually when we are fighting. So this is an opportunity for us to talk about values without fighting. Without fighting. When someone prays, it is vested with a very powerful protective armor. Why is that, friends? Because we are creating that vibration. Remember that the universal fluid that we emanate just creates this space. And if there is a fluid that is negative with a fluid that is positive, they do not connect. Remember that whenever our perispirit has to use means of the environment for the spirit to be there. Remember that the spirits from the lower zone, they cannot be in higher zone, because remember when is a I don't know how I'm going to say that, but depending on the elevation, we cannot breathe, right? And this happens also with the spirits from the lower zone. If they are in an environment that is very elevated, they cannot stay there, they can't endure. It's just like when we try to look at the sun. If we look at the sun, we will be blind. So therefore, we do not do that. And this is exactly the same thing. Whenever we create this fortress of good, positive thoughts, any negative entities cannot stay there. They do not endure. So if we are going through any obsession, if we are going through any very difficult moment with anyone, doing the gospel at home is an amazing source for us to clean, because we enable the high spirituality to support us in this cleansing and creating this protection in our house. So it is really important and a serious thing. Again, it's a very powerful moment to strengthen everything. I can't bring enough examples from my family on how important it is to create bond, for us to mingle. Really powerful. If you didn't start yet, I suggest you do right away. And then again, as I was mentioning, it offers the possibility for the high spirituality to make this cleansing in the house. Because remember that we are never alone. Never. The entities from lower zone and higher zones, they are all around us because they need us as well. And sometimes they don't even know what's going on. They are just looking for support. How helpful do we want to be? Do we want to be those type that say, like when we deal with homeless and say, don't come bother me, you stay out there? Or do we want to extend a hand and say, I cannot help you now, but I know who can. Go with the mentor. You know what I'm saying, friends? This is compassion. You are able to support the entity that is surrounding your house, but not necessarily staying there. You have to go. And once you create that environment, the mentors will support you in that. So, what is the gospel at home? How should we do that? Jesus said, for where 2 or 3 come together in my name, there I am with them. Bring Jesus to your home. This is an amazing opportunity for us to do that. So first, you select the same day and the same time each week, once a week. And why is that? Because that's the moment, like we are all here. It's organized. We know who should be here. You guys come here expecting that I am here. Imagine if I don't show up and you all come here. That's the same with our mentors. That's exactly the same with the benefactors that will be working with us at our house. So make a commitment with the whole family. Decide according to the dynamic of your family what is the best day and time of each week. Always ask for protection, for guidance, and for the presence of your mentors and the benefactors of the good, so that they can help you on managing the gospel at home. Always keep your water to be magnetized. Every time that we are receiving those lessons, that we are reading something, our mentors are magnetizing the water so that everybody can receive what is necessary for that family. Always open and close with prayers. So just as we're doing here, we always open with a prayer. It is also a time for us to settle down and make sure that we are all here. For us to release our thoughts and make sure that we are all here to create the environment. Again, always asking for the guidance and for the protection of our mentors, and closing the same in the same way. And always read the gospel and or enlightening book. The gospel is ultimately the book that we should be reading. That's why it's called Gospel at Home. But there are some families that they are still not ready for the gospel. That's all right. We can read other enlightening books that can help discussions on important values. If you have that case and you are looking for books, let me know. I'll be happy to share with you a couple of examples of what we read, what I read also at my home. But one very important thing, friends, is discuss the passage that you're reading. That's the moment that we are all going to share our point of view, and make sure that you allow people to express their thoughts. Because if they have a thinking or a doubt or something, they will know that that is a safe environment. It's family, creating bonds. What we should not do. Oh, and some other things. Sorry, not only what we shouldn't do, but things that we should do. If you are alone, make sure to read it out loud. Why is that? Remember that some spirits, when they wake up, sometimes they do not realize that they are already in the spiritual plane. They are still so much attached to matter that they are still using their material senses. So they are using their ears. They have the perception that they can only hear if you are speaking out loud. So it's easier for them to understand. It doesn't mean that they couldn't hear your thoughts or see your thoughts. It just means that it's going to be easier for them to understand. So you are enlightening not only yourself, but also others that are in your environment. Keep disciplined with day and time. Remember what Emmanuel told Chico Xavier? What is necessary for him to accomplish his mission? Discipline, discipline, and discipline. Of course, sometimes we have to change time or day, I don't know, you're traveling, whatever it is. Whenever you do that, make sure to communicate with your mentor. Mentor, next week we are going to do the gospel at home, I don't know, a Saturday instead of Sunday, whatever. But make a discipline. Discipline. Do not turn it into a mediumship session. If you feel like you are receiving a lot of vibration, look for support. BSH can give you support if that is happening to you, but avoid to turn that into a mediumship session, because remember, if we open space for mediumship without education, this will not be a happy experience for anyone. And then instead of giving space for communication, It can be scary, it can be sad, it cannot be profitable for anyone. So if you feel like you are sensing something, stop right there and say, Mentor, help me. I will stop the gospel here, look for support at PSH, and we will help you to work on your mediumship and how to work on your gospel at home. And then make sure that it's not too long. Keep it simple and effective, especially if you have kids in your home. 20 minutes is enough. 20 minutes, friends. Nothing more than that. 30 minutes at most. If it's more than that, then there is a discussion that needs to be done outside the gospel at home. But make this a pleasant moment. Make this a moment that you really bring Jesus to your house, and you make that a pleasant guest, I would say. Chico Xavier, well, Emmanuel said through Chico Xavier that when the gospel penetrates a home, the heart opens the door for the divine master more easily. So let us make sure that whenever we decide to open our house to the gospel and to Jesus, we are creating a pleasant environment for the family and for Jesus as well. And that's it. I am out of time, and I will read that poem next week. All right, questions, comments? Does anyone do gospel at home here already? No? No?
Not yet. I'm reading the book, but we didn't start reading out loud with the kids. I'm trying to introduce to them slowly the idea. And I think there's so much stigma around it, right? Like people don't openly talk about it. So I think that for them it's kind of like very different.
Yeah. And you're right, Patricia. You have to introduce little by little. And there are a lot of interesting books, Patricia, that you can use that are not so, how can I say, so difficult to understand as the gospel. So again, I'm happy to help find books if you're interested, because there are many different ways of introducing that. There is a very nice book called There is Jesus in the Home, and there is Good News that is amazing. Good News is a very small and very interesting book. And Happy
And then
Life.
Happy Life.
Yeah, I think that I mentioned to you already. My husband, he's still understanding. He was more agnostic. Now he's understanding a little bit more, and I respect him because I know that I want to respect wherever he is. But we do what we call gospel at home. We pray. He has his own way of praying, and I totally respect. I have my way of praying. He respects me. And then we read this small book that is more about values rather than Jesus' teaching. That works really well.
That's Happy Life.
Happy Life, yeah. And this one that Gina is holding is amazing for kids. You want to speak about it, Gina? You are on mute, sister.
Which Happy Life you're talking about, Kiki?
Happy Life is from Joana de Angelis
Okay.
through
It's a
Divaldo.
little, it's a little
It's a little
small.
book. I don't have it here. It's like this size. Yep, there you go. This one.
Oh, yes.
I found it.
Found it.
But this one here has a lot of little stories in it for children.
Very spiritual.
I got it. And they have it in Portuguese and English and I think maybe Spanish, or maybe it's just Portuguese and English. I don't know. Anyway, I only read it in English.
And you got it the Spiritist
I got it off their website, yeah, the US Federation.
Okay.
US Spiritist Federation.
Okay.
They have it on.
Kirk just said that there is not on Amazon too.
There is not? Oh, there
There is.
is.
Yeah,
There is.
on
Yeah.
Amazon.
I got
Yeah,
some
I
more
usually
of them.
buy mine from Amazon.
Yeah, I have more of them, but I don't know where they are at the moment. But anyway, but they're good for kids. They're really good. And there's another one. It's called Violets in the Window or something like that.
Oh,
Really,
yeah.
really good.
That's a novel, right?
Yeah, but it's for
Yeah.
teenagers, you know.
Yeah.
Pilots.
This,
Yeah,
Patricia, you would love that book,
we have it.
Violets in the Window.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Ah, that's
We have
beautiful.
that one. Yeah.
So beautiful.
I have not read it yet, but I will.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Oh, friend, you should. That's so beautiful.
I really like audiobooks. So so I don't think I found that on audiobook. So I will look for it again.
I can look for some and I'll share with you if I found something interesting.
Thank you.
Friends, any questions, especially on how to do the gospel at home? I highly encourage you to do that. And Patricia, even if you don't feel like doing that with your kids now, do that on your own or do with Kirk. Find a moment for you, at least for you two, and then at times you feel comfortable to expanding, and I'm sure the guidance will come to you for you to find the best way of introducing it to them. But do it, friend, do it. You will see how good it is for everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will. Do you hear Kirk? She told us to do it. If Kiki said we need to do it.
Kiki said it.
Yeah.
It's not Kiki.
I'm just kidding.
Just so.
Kiki is just the ventriloquist.
Yes.
So be it.
Yeah.
All right, friends. Okay, so if anyone has any question on how to do the gospel, or another thing that I just wanted to mention is if you still don't know how to pray and you are looking for sources of prayer, there are many books with prayers. Gina, what's the name of the one that you are sharing? Prayer for
Yes, I was going to ask that.
You're on mute.
Which one that I was sharing earlier today?
Earlier today, yeah, it was prayer for one. I
This
I
one?
know. I was showing that to somebody today.
This one, Gina. There is the Spiritist prayer,
Yeah.
Yeah.
prayers for oneself.
Oh, this one's upside down.
I don't know if it's the book, but there's this one, and also on the Gospel, chapter 28.
And this
You
one,
have
prayers in the spiritual formula. That one?
Yes.
That's the one you're talking about?
yes. So friends, if you are lacking inspiration and you want some guided prayers, there's also many sources. Chapter 28 from the Gospel has many other prayers as well, powerful ones. There's many prayers.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so speaking of prayers, does anyone want to do our closing today? Come on, I won't do my closing prayer.
Michael? Kirk, let's get Kirk to do it.
Oh,
Come on, Kurt.
you can do it.
Okay. So I want to show thanks and appreciation for this group of people that we have been connected with. And I feel and can experience, that we all can experience, that the combining of our thoughts and our wishes and our appreciation work together to be more powerful, to be more effective, and to guide us more than would be if we were to do it alone. And so I'm appreciative of working together and being part of something bigger. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ew, says a dog. The dog's thankful too.
Yay! Thank you so much, Kirk. All right, friends. So thank you for tonight. I see you maybe tomorrow, maybe Sunday, but next week for sure.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
All
Have a
right.
good one. Good night, everybody.